Veronica Caldwell had been driving for over an hour, still processing the details of the highly classified meeting she had just attended. As the newly appointed FBI director, she was accustomed to long days and exhausting hours, but what she wasn't prepared for was the strange and unsettling turn of events on a desolate road. Then, without warning, the familiar red and blue lights flashed in her rearview mirror. She glanced at the speedometer, noting the needle was precisely at 65 miles per hour. No speeding. No sharp turns. Nothing that could explain the stop, yet the police cruiser didn't back off. She let out a sigh of frustration, her fingers tightening slightly on the steering wheel, and she slowly pulled over, her mind already analyzing the situation. Veronica was no stranger to the law, and she knew the rules well, but she wasn't familiar with every nuance of street codes across the state, so it didn't surprise her that she didn't immediately recognize the officer. However, there was something off about his presence. His posture was stiff, too rigid, too aggressive. His left hand hovered near his gun, and the flashlight in his other hand was pointed directly at her face, blinding her momentarily. She rolled down her window, making sure to keep both hands firmly on the steering wheel. "Good evening, officer," she said, her voice calm and collected, professional as always. The officer didn't greet her, nor did he offer any explanation as to why he had stopped her. Instead, he simply barked, "License and registration." The coldness in his tone sent a chill down her spine, but Veronica kept her composure. The way he spoke, there was something unsettling about it. "May I ask why I'm being stopped?" she asked, her eyes locking onto his, her gaze unwavering, even as she calmly chewed her gum. His response was immediate and flat. "License and registration." Veronica's instincts, those same instincts that had kept her alive through countless dangerous situations, flared up. Something wasn't right here. "Sir, I'm reaching for my purse on the passenger seat," she said, her voice careful, measured. No response. She moved deliberately, slowly reaching for her purse and pulling out her wallet. She handed him both her license and her FBI credentials, hoping the official identification would diffuse the tension. The officer didn't take the credentials right away. His eyes flicked from her ID to her face, then back to the ID, and then he muttered, "FBI." Veronica nodded in acknowledgement, but before she could say anything else, his next words sent a jolt through her. "Step out of the vehicle." The words hung in the air, the tension rising sharply. Veronica's heartbeat remained steady, but her mind raced, calculating. She knew this wasn't a simple traffic stop anymore. It had escalated, and she had seen this play out before, read the reports, seen the body cam footage, investigated cases like this, but now she was the one in danger. She had two choices: comply and risk whatever dangerous plan he had in store for her, or refuse and risk further escalation. Before she could decide, the officer reached for the door handle. That was when everything changed. This wasn't about law and order anymore. This was about power, raw, unbridled power, and she wasn't about to give in without a fight. In one swift motion, Veronica shot out her left hand and gripped the door handle from the inside, preventing him from opening the door. "Step back, officer. You're out of protocol," she said, her voice sharp, commanding. The officer's grip tightened on the door handle, his face hardening. "I said step out," he demanded, his voice cold and authoritative. Veronica had dealt with men like him before, men who used their position to bully others, mistaking authority for dominance. This was no longer about a routine traffic stop. This was about control, and she wasn't going to let him have it. Just then, another police car arrived, and for a brief moment, Veronica felt a flicker of relief. Backup meant a witness. But that sense of relief quickly faded when she saw who stepped out of the car. It wasn't another officer there to help. No, it was another figure, tall, broad-shouldered, and with no nameplate visible. This wasn't backup. This was reinforcement. The new officer glanced at the first one, and in a calm, menacing tone, asked, "What's going on here?" The first officer replied with barely concealed irritation, "Just dealing with a non-compliant driver." The two officers began to approach, and Veronica's heart tightened. "Ma'am, step out of the vehicle," the second officer ordered, his tone detached and impersonal. Not FBI director, not Miss Caldwell, just ma'am. The moment felt like it had frozen in time, and Veronica realized what was truly happening. This wasn't about her. This was about a system that allowed men like these to abuse their power unchecked. If she made the wrong move, they would write a report that could ruin her, and she wouldn't be there to refute it. With a slow, controlled breath, she prepared herself for what was to come. But before she could react, the first officer grabbed her wrist. Too forcefully, too quickly. She pulled back instinctively, not wanting to appear overly aggressive, but her survival instincts kicked in. "Get your hands off me," she shouted, her voice raw with anger. The second officer, instead of de-escalating, reached for his radio. "We have a non-compliant suspect," he announced, the word suspect hanging in the air like a cold shadow. Not FBI director, not citizen, just suspect. Then it happened. The first officer drew his gun, the barrel aimed at Veronica's face. Everything stopped. Silence. A suffocating, terrifying silence. In that moment, Veronica's mind was racing, but she didn't have time to think. Then, as if from nowhere, a voice cut through the tension, sharp and clear. "I'm recording this." Veronica's eyes darted to the side, and there, standing at the edge of the road, was a man holding up a phone. The light from the screen illuminated his face as he captured the entire scene. For the first time, the officers faltered. Their confidence wavered. They weren't in control anymore. Sirens blared in the distance. More police cars arrived, and the officers froze, caught off guard. Then, the realization hit. The first officer's gun lowered, and in moments, he was handcuffed. His partner was suspended by morning. By noon, the entire incident had gone viral. The Justice Department launched a full investigation, and the corrupt officer was facing charges. Veronica had seen justice delayed in the past, but not tonight. Tonight, justice came fast. It came with a vengeance. If you're paying attention, understand this. This wasn't just about one bad cop. It was about a system that allowed men like him to thrive unchecked. If this story moved you, share it, speak out, and never stay silent. The only way to change things is to make your voice heard.